and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ritu Singh and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Sensex hits a record high in intraday trade. Nifty is now 30 points away from its peak. Mid-cap index posts a record close for the 8th straight session. Prime Minister Modi meets top CEOs, academicians and thought leaders on day one of his first state visit to America. The Prime Minister's itinerary includes leading an event at the United Nations on World Yoga Day, addressing a joint session of the US Congress. Formalization of crucial defense deals are on the anvil as well. Elon Musk calls on Prime Minister Modi, says he's confident Tesla will be in India and will do so as soon as humanly possible. Also responds to former CEO of Twitter Jack Dorsey's claims of being threatened by the Indian government during the farm law protest. Says Twitter does not have a choice but to obey local governments. US-based Micron Technology becomes the first company to get cabinet approval under the semiconductor scheme. Plans to set up a chip testing and packaging facility in Gujarat. The total cost of the project will be 22,000 crore rupees, with the government supporting 50% of the investment. CNBC-TV18 Newsbreak confirmed Lupin becomes the first generic player to get US regulatory approval for a $1 billion respiratory drug. Lupin shares rally in trade. Consumer durable companies stare at a washout this summer. Industry sources say sales of air conditioners, refrigerators and other cooling products declined more than 25% in April and May. Production cut of more than 30% is likely in June to balance the inventory. India's youngest airline, Akasa Air, looks to expand its wings, orders 4 more Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. CEO Vinay Dubey says it takes the order book to 76 aircraft to be delivered in the next 4 years, adds that the airline will announce a 3-digit order by the end of the year. The world is making slow progress on gender parity. The World Economic Forum estimates it will take 131 years for women to be treated as equal to men. India improves its ranking but remains 127th out of 146 countries on the index. Defense collaborations, consolidating ties and an eye on the global south. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark 3-day state visit to the United States has raised expectations on multiple deliverables. And day one already seems to have been quite fruitful. Tesla's Elon Musk says the electric car maker is going to be coming to India soon. Prime Minister Modi's meetings with other top CEOs and thought leaders have also been favorable. Here's a report on how day one went.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States is a landmark visit for more than one reason. It is designated a state visit, the highest expression of a friendly bilateral relationship from the US point of view. It also comes at a time when President Biden is keen to consolidate the nation's friendship with India amidst frosty ties with China. In this setting, it is telling that Prime Minister kicked off his visit with a slew of meetings with top CEOs and thought leaders. His hard sell of the India story has found many takers, starting with Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who sees opportunity in India's internet revolution, its energy transition and its thrust on green mobility.
I'm tentatively planning to visit India again next year. And we're also hopefully looking forward to bringing Starlink to India as well. The Starlink internet, which I think can be incredibly helpful for sort of remote or rural villages.
Starlink, an ambitious project spearheaded by Musk-owned SpaceX, is a satellite internet constellation designed to provide global broadband coverage. The Prime Minister reportedly invited Musk to explore opportunities in India for investments in both electric mobility and commercial space sector. Musk, who owns Twitter, reacted on former CEO Jack Dorsey's recent claims that the Indian government had threatened him with a Twitter shutdown.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter doesn't have a choice but to obey local governments. You know, if we don't obey local government laws, then we will get shut down. So the best we can do is really to hew close to the law in any given country. But it is impossible for us to do more than that, or we will be blocked and our people will be arrested. But we'll do the best to provide the freest speech that is possible under the law.
Musk was not alone in coming out of the meeting enthused by the India story and admiration for India's Prime Minister. Famous astrophysicist Neil Tyson and billionaire investor Ray Dalio believe India will play a crucial role in a new world order.
All of the challenges we have in civilization, the solutions are going to come from innovations in science and technology and engineering and math. And it's very clear to me that he cares about all of this.
Prime Minister Modi is a man whose time has come at the time that India's time has come. The potential of India is enormous, and you have now a reformer, a radical reformer, who has the ability to transform it and the popularity to transform it.
We talked about the importance of successful urban development and the things that the government really needs to do to help lead in urban development. He understands these issues very well. He articulated very well the main message, which is that urbanization is not a problem, it's an opportunity. And I take it this is a slogan that he's used before. India, just as India did this for Aadhaar, I think for telephony and electronic authentication, I think India could really show the world how to do it right.
The Prime Minister also met with academicians and experts across disciplines, from American Nobel laureate and molecular biologist Dr. Peter Agre to former United States Trade Representative Michael Froman, to Indian-American businesswoman and Grammy-nominated artist Chandrika Tandon, to the chancellors and heads of various universities. Discussions ranged from geopolitics to the global economic situation, from terrorism to education collaboration, from global healthcare readiness to development and innovative use of tech-enabled solutions. The Prime Minister will now head to Washington, D.C., where a ceremonial welcome later, he will mark International Yoga Day at the United Nations and meet with President Biden and other officials to discuss various collaborations from defense to artificial intelligence. Bureau Report, CNBC-TV18.
All right, now US-based Micron Technology has become the first company to get a cabinet approval under the semiconductor scheme. The company has plans to set up a chip testing and packaging facility in Gujarat. Ashmit Kumar joins us now with the latest. Ashmit, this marks the end of a very long wait. Tell us more about this project.
India's semicon journey has well and truly begun today, especially coming at a time when the US is hosting the Indian Prime Minister. The cabinet has approved Micron's bet on India as a semicon destination. This is the first such approval to be granted to an applicant under India's flagship scheme for semiconductors. Now, with this approval, Micron will now be setting up an ATMP, or Assembly Testing, Marking and Packaging Facility. This unit will be coming up in Sanand, Gujarat, which already boasts of a vast industrial hub. Now, let's talk numbers. The plan has been approved under the semicon scheme, where the government will support the cost of project on a dollar-for-dollar basis. So under the approved plan, Micron will make an investment of 11,000 crore rupees. This will be matched by support from the government of an equal amount of 11,000 crores. Now, this takes the total investment to 22,000 crore rupees. So why is this investment significant? There are 6 reasons. Number one, this approval for Micron comes at a time when the Indian Prime Minister is on a US state visit. A commitment of this scale by Micron will strengthen India's pitch as a semicon destination. Number two, the approval comes close on the heels of the US visit by Telecom and IT and Rail Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. He met multiple CEOs, academicians and industry experts to lay the groundwork. Number three, it's been a long wait. The original semicon scheme was notified in December of 2021. And while the government has been pitching India as a hub for semiconductors, given the public money involved, it has been guarded. So this is the first approval coming 18 months after the scheme had been notified. Number 4. In September of 2022, the Semicon scheme was amended. Under that modification, the support from government was ramped up from 30% of the project cost to 50% of the project cost for ATMPs. This sweetening of the deal was crucial. Number 5. This would be the first time that the government has approved an upfront payment to bear the cost of the project. Just for context, in a PLI scheme, the government pays the companies the incentive after the incremental production. And lastly, but significantly, India's wait for a fab facility, for a fabrication facility for making semiconductors continues. This Micron will be an ATMP facility. India had aspired to host fab facilities, but a lot of large players have been shy so far. But there is continued hope. In fact, speaking just a few days ahead of the approval, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, in a conversation with CNBC-TV18, had said, and I quote, there would be substantial results on India-U.S. cooperation on semiconductor supply chains. U.S. and India are working on ways to promote semiconductor manufacturing in India. U.S. has invested resources in reshoring semiconductor supply chain to us, but we would like to contribute to semiconductor manufacturing in India. This is one area we would like to make rapid progress and show results, end quote. Now, the hope is that with the government opening up a second window, more players would turn their interest into investments. And meanwhile, the government is gearing up to roll out the red carpet for the entire semicon ecosystem.
Well, the first company gets the government's nod for the Semicon scheme. Good news for Micron, also a good day for bulls on Dalal Street. Nifty, Sensex and Nifty midcap all hit record closing highs. The midcap index hit new peaks for the 8th straight session. In fact, the Sensex hit a record high in intraday trade. Nifty and Sensex gained 0.25%. The rally was led by HDFC Twins, TCS and Reliance. Banks rose in line with the blue chips. We'll take a short break on that note, but don't go anywhere. Up next, the world is making slow progress on gender parity. The World Economic Forum estimates it's going to take 131 years for women to be treated as equals to men. Details on that and more when we return.
डायबिटीज कंट्रोल करने के लिए आपने इतने स्टेप्स उठाए।
नो थैंक्स।
तो हमने भी आपके लिए एक कदम बढ़ाया। बजाज अलियांज लाइफ इंश्योरेंस प्रेजेंट्स डायबिटिक टर्म प्लान, इंडियाज ओनली टर्म प्लान एक्सक्लूसिवली डिजाइन फॉर डायबिटिक्स। ये प्लान आपको हेल्दी लाइफस्टाइल अपनाने पर रिन्यूअल प्रीमियम्स पे रिडक्शन देता है। समझो हो गया।
The MG Cluster Blackstone. Drive unstoppable.
किराए के घर में कैसा रेनोवेशन? तो सिग्नेचर ग्लोबल है ना, ले लीजिए स्मार्ट डिसीजन।
Watch industry leaders discuss the growth drivers and challenges in the Indian banking sector and paving way for a new India.
Geopolitically, geoeconomically, India seems to be in a much better position. There's a lot of good things happening, but there could be bumps ahead, and I'm sure the banking industry would be up to it.
How can banking maybe come up with an integrated strategy on ESG? Would that be feasible? And then what are the steps that can be taken?
Tune into BWC and CNBC-TV18 presents CEO Dialogues at this time.
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
Loan, loan, loan. अरे जिसको देखो दे रहे हैं लोन लोन लोन, और इसको उसको सबको चाहिए लोन लोन लोन।
जो घर लेना हो ले ले लोन, ले ले लोन। गोल्ड लोन लेना हो ले ले लोन, ले ले लोन। बिजनेस बढ़ाना हो ले ले लोन, ले ले लोन। अरे लोन पर लोन, ये कौन सा है लोन?
कभी सही इंटरेस्ट तो बोल,
कई छुपी शर्तों का झोल।
अरे स्टॉप, अब गोल गोल को छोड़, सुन सीधी बात के बोल। अब हर सपना होगा पूरा जो तेरा है अधूरा, और IIFL फाइनेंस पे है मेरा भरोसा पूरा। गोल्ड से लेकर बिजनेस, पर्सनल से लेकर होम, हर जरूरत को मिलेगा लोन। तो हुआ ना यही सही लोन। IIFL IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
आजकल लाइफ इतनी बिजी हो चुकी है कि अपने लिए ही टाइम नहीं है।
दलजीत भाई, कल सुबह योग करने चले?
नहीं यार, मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, बहुत बिजी हूं मैं, तू जा।
लेकिन अपने बिजी लाइफ में से टाइम निकालना बहुत जरूरी है, अपनी सेहत के लिए, दिमाग के लिए और अपने आप के लिए। और ये करने का सबसे बढ़िया तरीका है योग। योग करने से शरीर तंदुरुस्त रहता है और मन भी शांत रहता है। ये आप भी कर सकते हैं। इस साल अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के इस मौके पर खुद से एक वादा करें कि हम हर रोज अपने लिए समय निकालकर योग जरूर करें।
ਪੰਜਾਬੀਓ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਤੰਦਰੁਸਤੀ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਐਮ ਦੀ ਯੋਗਸ਼ਾਲਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਿਸ ਕਾਲ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ 'ਚ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੁਹੱਲੇ 'ਚ ਯੋਗਾ ਟੀਚਰ ਬੁਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੰਨਿਆ ਕਿ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਰੁਝੇਵੇਂ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਮਜਬੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬਾਕੀ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਿਹਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ।
हमने लिए 90 लाख में, आपने लिए 80 लाख में।
ये सेम क्यों नहीं?
क्योंकि आपके और हमारे होम सर्च ऐप सेम नहीं है। जानिए प्राइस ट्रेंड्स और सही ट्रांजैक्शन प्राइसेस ऑन 99acres.com।
दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। बातें उठी सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. Now, the world is making a very slow progress towards closing the gender gap, and women will not be able to attain parity with men for another 131 years. According to the World Economic Forum's latest Global Gender Gap Report, the overall gender gap measurement, which is a measurement of equality across economy, politics, health and education, closed by a mere 0.3 percentage points compared to last year. The global gender gap is now only 68.4% closed, and the world fares the worst when it comes to political empowerment of women and economic opportunities for them. Now, at this current rate of progress, we will take 162 years to close the political empowerment gender gap, 169 years for the economic participation and opportunity gap, and 16 years for the educational attainment gap. The time to close the health and survival gender gap, that remains undefined. Now, for the 14th year running, we have Iceland taking the top position. It also continues to be the only country in the world to have closed more than 90% of its gender gap. These top 10 countries also include 3 other Nordic countries. You have Nicaragua as well as Namibia on the list. Now, India has closed 64.3% of the overall gender gap and ranks 127th on the global index. It has improved by 1.4 percentage points from last year and 8 positions in ranking compared to 2022. But while India has attained parity in enrollment across all levels of education, it has reached only about 37% parity on economic participation and opportunity and barely 25% on political empowerment. Although currently, women represent more than 15% of parliamentarians, which is the highest for India since the inaugural 2006 edition of this report. Now, on the Health and Survival Index, India saw some improvement as well. But if you look at the rankings, India saw the biggest jump on educational attainment, but it slipped in political empowerment compared to other countries. We fare the worst when it comes to economic participation and health when we compare it to the rest of the world. But as far as work participation and leadership positions are concerned, India is very far from ideal. The share of women's membership in board positions stands at just over 17%. Only 1.8% of the firms have majority female ownership and less than 9% have females as top managers. The share of women in the informal sector, as you can see, is also quite high. Overall, over the last decade, there's been insufficient progress in achieving parity, and the tepid progress was interrupted further by the pandemic, which highlights the need for renewed focus by both the governments and business leaders. Now, that is as far as this report is concerned. Moving on to other news then. 2 years into its term, the DMK government in Tamil Nadu has been on an investment blitzkrieg. With its Global Investment Summit half a year away, it has already signed on some big-ticket investments from MNCs in technology and manufacturing, and it is on track to sign more MOUs in the coming months. CNBC-TV18's Jude Sandit reports that with commitments for investments of over $5 billion already locked in, the state is setting its targets quite high.
French glassmaker Saint-Gobain has begun producing India's first zero-carbon glass, and it's happening at its plant in Tamil Nadu. Saint-Gobain's World Glass Complex in Chennai accounts for not just a bigger share of global output, but 98% of all its products sold in India. Today, Saint-Gobain has cumulative investments worth 3,750 crore rupees in Tamil Nadu, with most of its recent investments including 500 crore rupees towards a new float glass line and one for integrated windows. The company says it wants to expand further.
We are at this point in time discussing with the government and the other related stakeholders. So we will have investments in the glass, on the plaster board, on the glass fiber insulation. Solar glass is a good opportunity, and especially in Tamil Nadu and maybe also Gujarat, good opportunity from that. So we are evaluating all these possibilities, and we will take a decision in the coming weeks.
Saint-Gobain isn't alone. Korean auto major Hyundai, which has a strong presence in the state for years, recently committed to invest 20,000 crore rupees or $2.4 billion towards EV manufacturing at its plant in Sriperumbudur.
The focus by the government of India of equipping India with a strong EV infrastructure, we have announced this 20,000 crore, which will be spread over a period of 10 years, which will envisage investment into these future technologies, especially in terms of EVs, further also expanding our existing capacities and also setting up new plant and machinery so that we can augment our production from the traditional ICE-based and further increase our penetration into the EV market.
The state has no plans to slow down. The Tamil Nadu government says its target is to make the state a $1 trillion economy by 2030. To this end, it has begun pitching for investments from the energy, automotive and manufacturing sectors, all in the hope to close in on a sizable investment corpus in time for the state's Global Investor Summit in January. The pitch seems to be working. Japanese medical device maker Omron has said it will invest $15.7 million in a new plant at Peruvoil near Chennai. Mitsubishi Electric has announced a $230 million investment to make air conditioners in the vicinity, with plans to employ nearly 2,000 people. Before that, American telecom major Cisco said it would make switching networks and router platforms in Chennai and has set itself a target to do business worth $1 billion while employing 1,200 people. The biggest investment commitment by far has come from Malaysian energy major Petronas, $4.1 billion towards a 4,000-hectare green hydrogen project in Tuticorin. The state's intent to create infra to support these industries has been a big factor.
Already a lot of good stuff is happening in Tamil Nadu, and I think with a little bit more push and investments into the state, I think a lot more can happen. The government is investing a lot on infrastructure. I think that should be a good news. And even at the central government level, I think there's a huge investment in the logistics, which was one of the challenges when we talk of manufacturing.
However, challenges are aplenty. As some industrialists point out, for instance, Chennai does not find place on the national gas grid, and that can be a problem for some companies. For now, however, other sweeteners like single window clearances, developed industrial corridors, a large port presence, and the availability of land in industrialized Tier 2 towns like Tuticorin, Hosur and Krishnagiri are tipping the scales. And the state is keen on maintaining this momentum as it gears up for its Global Investor Summit in January 2024. In Chennai, this is Jude Sanat.
Well, we'll be keeping a close watch on that summit coming up in January. But on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. Thank you for watching. Stay with CNBC-TV18. Your news and updates will continue.